start
Uh-oh.
climbing.
Okay, we're here in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I'm a complete idiot when it comes to this. And I'm going to go through the training. I've already gone through some of it up to the landing and the traffic control, but I'm not very good at it, and I still don't know the controls on this Logitech flight controller, but we'll see how it goes. This is worth the money, but you do need a fairly decent video card. I got a EVGA GeForce GTX 1070 Ti, so with 8 gigabytes of RAM in it, so you kind of need a fairly decent PC, but not great. And let's see what happens. Ailerons, flaps, rudder, and elevator. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, I've gone through some of these initial ones, but I just want to see if I do a little better than last time. As you can see, it takes a little while to load. We're in Sedona, Arizona. I didn't load that. That's the default airport. And look at that. Pretty detailed.
Welcome to flight training. I'm your instructor, Captain Molina, but you can just call me Jess.
Hi, Jess.
This session, we'll get started with some basic controls. Sound good?
I guess so.
First things first, let's get familiar with your surroundings. Don't worry, I've got the stick while you get your bearings.
That's what
Out
she
your side
said.
windows, you can see we have great visibility over Sedona today.
Old joystick. There
This
you go.
is Red Rock territory. Beautiful, isn't it?
I thought that was in Colorado. Left, right, up and down. And then control space to go back to normal, I think. Yep. And hold right click. Okay, control space, get back to normal. Oh, I still gotta do everything this way, huh? Joystick button 2. I don't know what number 2 is. Control Alt 1. Okay. Joystick button 2. I don't know what button 2 is. We'll figure it out. There we go. Press Alt 1 anytime and call your custom camera.
See if you can spot the Sedona airport. The runway should be a pretty easy landmark to find.
There it is.
There you go. Visual confirmation on the airport.
I didn't see it. Where is it?
Now
Oh,
that
there it
we're
is.
oriented, it's your turn. Time to fly this bird.
Oh no.
The first control on our training list is the yoke. I still remember my first instructor saying the yoke is like a steering wheel. Almost. Sure, you can turn, but you can also pitch. For
Really?
starters, it
Can I
controls the
throw a
ailerons.
fastball?
And the ailerons, they allow the plane to roll and bank into turns. Go ahead and try rolling to the right. Nice. Now let's see you level back out. Good. Of course, the yoke also controls the elevator.
What
And
floor
the
does it get
elevator
off
affects
at?
the plane's pitch, right? Pull back on the stick, the plane starts to climb. Give it a shot. most valuable things in aviation are speed and altitude. But notice, when you're pitching up, your speed is decreasing.
Yeah.
You could add more power.
Is that important?
Or for now, let's just pitch down. Just like that, your speed's picking up again as the nose pitches down.
Of course, going downhill.
As you level back out, let's talk about another control, the rudders at your feet.
I don't
Rudder
have any
pedals
rudders.
control the aircraft's side-to-side movement, also known as yaw. On the ground, those pedals are going to steer the plane left or right. Up here, they properly align us during turns. Try them out and watch the plane's nose skew to either side. Simple enough, right?
Oops.
Before we go on, let's bring the plane back to straight up flight. Make sure your dashboard is aligned 3 to 4 inches below the horizon for a cruise attitude. Okay, the last thing we're gonna cover now is the throttle. If you
Okay.
have the need for speed, then the throttle's for you. Full control over the power output of the engine. Let's see what happens when you cut all the power. Surprise, surprise, our altitude is decreasing.
Really?
This might be a good time for a piloting PSA. Always keep an eye on your surroundings, because nobody likes a low-flying duck. All right, let's go ahead and throttle back up. There you go. Speed is increasing, and as long as we maintain the same attitude, our altitude will keep climbing too.
I'm gonna run into the mountain.
You're really getting the hang of your controls. Before long, you won't even need a co-pilot. Until then, if you want help with the radio or checklists or simply flying the plane, I'll be here. You can pass me the controls when you're ready to finish your session, or keep flying. It is a great day after all.
You know, you could have warned me about the mountain, otherwise I would have kept going. Alright, let's finish this one. Control Alt X.
All right, I have control. Good job.
Okay, we finished the first one. You can pause if you need to read these, or I'll go back. This is what we covered. Aircraft views, roll, pitch, yaw, throttle, controls. Let's go back to training. What was this next? Alright, let's go to the next one. Alright, I haven't really looked at the logbook. Okay. Let's see what the next one is. Airspeed indicator, attitude indicator, altimeter, turn and slip indicator. I'm not sure what that is. Heading indicator, variometer. I don't know what that is. Tachometer. We're still in. All these are in Sedona.
Today we're talking about attitudes of flight, how your plane is oriented.
I always been
relative to
told
the
I've had a
horizon.
bad attitude, so.
If you look outside, you can see the cockpit is just about 4 inches below the
Well,
horizon
it's
line.
about an inch and a quarter on
We're
the
flying straight
monitor.
with a decent rate of speed. This is the cruise attitude. Let's see how it reads on your instruments.
About 5,000? No. Looks like 3,000 feet. Oh.
Take a look at the attitude indicator. As the name implies, it shows your current attitude. The white line is the horizon, with the sky above and the ground below. That orange element in the middle, aligned with the horizon, that's your plane. Just like we saw outside, our current attitude reads pretty much straight and level. Okay, now let's see how much power the engine's generating. Check your tachometer.
Okay, about 85.
Looks like we're pushing around 2,300 revolutions per minute.
I don't know where you get the 2,300 from.
Combined, attitude and engine RPMs translate to aircraft performance. Which leads us to your airspeed indicator. Now, last but not least, check your altimeter. To figure out your altitude, you always want to read the small needle first. That's how many thousands of feet up you are. Then on to the big needle for the hundreds.
So about 3,000.
With our current attitude and power output, we're holding a speed of 90 knots and a stable altitude
Oh,
of
that's
6,000
right. Okay,
feet.
we're past halfway. My bad.
But that's about to change. Take the stick when you're ready. Pull back slightly on the yoke to raise the nose just above the horizon line. About 2 inches. Make sure you don't pitch up too much, or the angle will be too steep to create lift. And without enough lift, we'll stall.
Oh, no.
Alright, go full throttle and start climbing.
It is at full throttle, isn't it?
Welcome to the climb
There we go.
attitude. See how it shows up on your attitude indicator and tachometer? According to your altimeter, we're gaining altitude. But we're losing airspeed even at full throttle, proving you can't avoid basic physics while making a climb. Okay, before we go on, let's get back to a cruise attitude. Ease up on the yoke and aim your nose just below the horizon. Then throttle back down to 2,300 RPMs.
Where do they get this RPMs at? Oh, I see where it is. The right side of the screen. There we go.
Ease up on the yoke and aim your nose just below the horizon. Then throttle
we
back
go.
down to 2,300 RPMs.
We're about there.
Nice job. We're now set up with the same attitude and power we had at the top of our lesson. Start by reducing your RPMs to 1,800. Then drop the plane's nose a bit further below the horizon. Then drop the plane's nose a bit further below the horizon. As expected, with a nose-down attitude, our
Yeah.
altitude is decreasing, while our speed is picking up.
Right. Because we're going downhill.
Why don't you get us back to a cruise attitude, and we'll hit the last part of our lesson.
I gotta go higher, don't I?
There we go.
There we go.
Now that we know how to cruise, climb, and descend, let's talk about the turn attitude. Gently pull the yoke left or right to start rolling the plane.
Let's go left.
If you take a look outside, you can see how our attitude's changed, but you can also check your instruments for the details. As a general rule, you always want to keep your turns under 30 degrees. At the top of your attitude indicator, there's a series of notches representing 10 degrees each. Use them to control your roll. Notice the more you turn, the more you need to pull back on the yoke to maintain altitude. When you're rolling out, you'll need to do the opposite. Roll and push at the same time. The more you know about the main attitudes of flight, the closer you get to that pilot state of mind. So keep practicing, And whenever you're done, pass me the controls.
Alright.
Thanks. I've got control now. Well done.
Alright. Understanding cruise attitude, climb attitude. That's a lot better than I did last time. At least I know where the RPMs are now. Turn attitude. Okay. Oh, this is the plane. Textron Aviation Cessna 152. The basic plane. Takeoff and level flights. Use the rudder to turn your aircraft while taxiing on the ground. Well, what would I need a taxi for? I'm going to fly. If I fly, I can get away from paying a tip. Must have it. I couldn't read it fast enough. Well, ready to fly.
There's an old saying I like. A mile of road will take you a mile. A mile of runway will take you anywhere.
Yeah, unless you run out of runway.
Taking off isn't hard, but there are a few key points to remember. First, we always take off into the wind, which won't be an issue on a calm day like today. Second, before we enter a runway, we always make sure it's clear.
Really? I don't see nobody down there. Don't see nobody down there. Button 1.
Everything looks
There you
good, no cross traffic. Go ahead and taxi into position.
I wonder if the brake's on.
The rudder pedals should make steering the plane pretty easy.
Don't want to go too fast here. Why do I keep increasing the throttle? I'm not supposed to. Man, it's hard to stay in the bit. There we go.
All right, let's do this. Apply full power and I'll walk you through the takeoff as we go.
It's like
Use your rudders to stay on the center line and keep pushing power until you reach 55 knots.
It's like I'm driving drunk.
Good. Now gently pull back on the yoke. Line up the top of your instrument panel so it's a couple inches above the horizon. That'll pitch us up and set a good climb attitude. And we're airborne. Focus on flying straight. Use your rudders to keep the runway heading of 210 degrees. Maintain 75 knots, and we'll reach our target altitude of 5,500 feet in no time.
400 feet to go, I believe. $52. $53. $54. All right, we're good.
Ah, 5,500 feet. A nice, safe altitude for part 2 of our lesson. Straight and level flight. First step here is adjusting our attitude. We're in a cruise attitude, pushing max power. To stay level at our target altitude, let's start by easing the throttle back to 1,800 RPMs.
Okay.
You probably noticed, to maintain altitude, you need to pitch the nose up. You could just keep pulling on the yoke to hold steady, but that's not really a precise means of control. Probably better to adjust your trim wheel until you don't need to
This
push
is the
or
buttons
pull
I'm
on
not
the yoke.
sure about.
Drag the trim down when you need to set the nose up. Drag it up to set the nose down. Try adding trim to keep us at 5,500 feet without increasing throttle. If you feel our pitch slipping and need to get back to the proper
There
attitude,
we
don't
go.
worry. Just pull on the yoke, then dial in the right trim. The way I was taught, when you adjust the trim, you make rough changes at first to remove pressure on the yoke, then small adjustments to find the perfect setting to keep your desired attitude. That's the key to straight and level flight.
All
It
right.
saves you from constantly pushing or pulling on the yoke. And that gives you more time to enjoy the ride. If
Okay.
you want more practice using the trim, go for it. Whenever you're ready to pass the controls, I'll be here.
All right, that's good.
Okay, I have control. Hope you enjoyed the lesson.
Doesn't look like you have a control. There we go. Check for runway traffic. Position for takeoff. Takeoff and runway 21. Straight and level flight. Delegate controls extra. That was better than I did last time. Landing. Now this is the rough one. I'll end this video with this one and then I'll pick up training in the next video. Alright, this is really difficult for me. Better have your seatbelt on when I land. This run's actually pretty good while I'm recording, to be honest with you. Alright, here we go. Oh boy.
My first instructor used to say the best part of flying is landing in one piece. The man was a terminal pessimist, but he wasn't wrong. Today, you're in charge of bringing us in for a safe landing. We've got clearance for a straight-in approach, so we don't have to complete the standard traffic pattern. And I've already set us up in landing configuration, at 65 knots with 10 degrees of flaps and idle power. We're on the glide slope now. Maintain speed around 65 knots. Change your pitch if you need to, and keep your aim point on the runway number. When you're targeting the runway number, you want to keep it steady in your sights.
Okay.
If it looks like the number's moving up in your windscreen, you're coming in low. You'll need to add a bit more throttle to get back on the slope.
Doesn't
If it
seem.
looks like the number's moving down in your windscreen, well, then you're too high. You'll need to add flaps to increase your rate of descent, but you'll also need to push forward and trim to change your attitude and maintain the same speed.
I'm going way too fast here. F8. Okay. I'm always missing the runway to the left.
Keep your aim point on the runway threshold. When you're 10 feet above the runway, it's time to flare. Once we pass the threshold, shift your aim point to the end of the runway. Then, pull back slightly on the yoke to aim the nose just above it. Okay, we're past the threshold. Start the flare. Keep pulling back slowly. Let the plane settle onto the runway. Don't push it down, but don't let it start climbing.
Oops.
Nice. Now apply the brakes to slow us down and bring the plane to a stop.
That was one of my better ones, actually.
Great job. As they say, any landing you can walk away from is a good landing. But if you can use the plane the next day, it's outstanding. Landings can be hard, even for seasoned pilots. Trust me, don't hesitate to practice. After all, that's what we're here for, right?
That was a lot better than the last time. Follow the glide slope, align with runway, flare the aircraft, slightly pull back on the yoke, and use the brakes. Okay, well, we'll finish the, we'll do the next ones in the next video, which is traffic pattern, which is a little more complicated. Then it gets a little progressively difficult. There's only 3 or 4 more, so to get through the training. Okay, folks, I'll see you in the next video.